Hi, my name is Reid Swetland, and I'm one of the counselors here at the Gordon College Counseling Center. Whether you're a current student or a high school senior thinking about your options, your college experience is going to be marked by a lot of changes. Some of these changes will be subtle, some of them will be quite large. Some of them may be numerous and concurrent, but all of these changes have one thing in common, and that is they're all different forms of transition. From a counseling and psychology standpoint, transition is considered the number one stressor of all. Now, it's not all bad. In fact, many of these are quite natural. You graduate high school, you say goodbye to friends, you leave home and come to college, and you're going to meet new friends and get introduced to different ideas and be living with a lot of new people. It's just that when all of these different transitions occur at the same time, our anxiety level is going to rise, and sometimes that leads us to feel kind of untethered. Now, through all of this, we factor in that there's a global pandemic, and our anxiety levels are going to hit new heights that we haven't seen before. Life right now is new to all of us, not just students. Those of us at Gordon who work in student life, we understand that these transitions are hard, but you're not going to be going through them alone. Knowing that we're all going through these transitions, I want to talk a little bit more about what anxiety is. We often use the terms stress and anxiety interchangeably, but they're actually different. Stress is everything that is external to you, relationships, deadlines, things like that. Anxiety is our internal mechanism that helps us to regulate how we're doing. Now, our anxiety isn't a bad thing. It's a natural thing. It can sometimes be uncomfortable for us, and that's what we don't like, but it is actually part of our natural drive. It is something that we use to push ourselves, to challenge ourselves, and quite frankly, a certain amount of anxiety propels us to even want to be a college student. Both our emotional reasoning and our cognitive reasoning are gifts that are given to us by God. Our cognitive reasoning helps us to understand the world around us, and our emotional reasoning helps us to understand how we're interacting with the world and how we are to take care of ourselves. Our emotions sometimes are criticized for being things that are constantly changing, but actually that's exactly how they work. Our emotions are supposed to be changing because our circumstances constantly change. At the core of our anxiety is an internal struggle for control, which means we have to begin to ask ourselves, what do I have control over? Do I have control over what that person said to me, or what happened to me, or this pandemic? Well, maybe not, but I do have control over how I'm going to choose to respond or how I'm going to express myself. Control over what my motivation is. Even when it doesn't necessarily seem clear to us in the moment, we actually do have more control than we might think. Our anxiety is always coupled with other emotions. So we have to ask ourselves, well, what is it that I'm feeling? Am I afraid? Am I self-conscious? Is there a fear of failure? Well, here's the thing about emotions, is they're not bad. They are morally neutral. It is what we do with them that matters. Where we often struggle is with the intensity of the emotions. And it's the intensity that's the difficult part to manage. And so we associate the emotion of that circumstance as being negative or unpleasant because we didn't like the circumstances that we were going through. During times of increased stress and transition, we're all challenged to find ways to take care of ourselves. So I want to offer just a few suggestions that are very practical about ways that we can do that. One is to establish a routine, which I know can be very hard when our circumstances and news keeps changing, but as best we can to establish a routine for ourselves that gives us just a sense of grounding. Another one is consistent sleep. Having regular bedtimes and wake times is foundational for functioning. Next would be time management. And time management has a lot to do with knowing how long a certain task is going to take you and budgeting that time accordingly. And finally, knowing your limits. A lot of students in their enthusiasm end up overcommitting themselves to very good endeavors, but over time realize that it's not sustainable. So knowing where our limits are, we can actually manage our anxiety. There's an old adage that says, change is inevitable, growth is intentional. At Gordon, you're going to encounter opportunities, both small and large, in which you're going to be growing into the person that God has called you to be. Your professors are going to want to get to know you. They are excited that you're in class. They want to guide you. They want to hear your ideas. They want to help shape your intellectual, personal, and spiritual development. And when it's hard, and it will be, know that at Gordon there are people who love and care about you, that want to come alongside you and understand you, who won't judge you for going through the struggles that you're going through. It's the only way that we grow.